Hello everyone, welcome to The Green Man. And now that the channel is evolving a little bit more into a few other things besides music and my reviewing around music, I'm covering a bit more now on films as well. I'm also, besides being a big fan of heavy metal music and alternative music, a big fan of film and TV as well. And I always have entertained the idea of two separate channels for this purpose, but I thought it's kind of, still reviews and discussion. I'll just lump them all in together. It's probably the easiest thing for me to do. So in this video, I'm going to talk about 5 horror flicks I've recently seen, share my thoughts on them, how I'd rate them, whether I'd recommend them for viewing as well. And I'll probably do these kind of videos a bit more going forwards in the future as I watch kind of more horrors, be it whether they're old classics or newer, more niche kind of Netflix films that have come out. I'll be talking about them. So in this video, I'll talk about 5 I've recently seen. The first one came out in 2009 and it's called Drag Me to Hell. And this was a film I actually meant to go and see at the cinema. I can't remember why I never did, to be honest. And I think, judging from what I just saw this film last night actually, and I felt like it kind of surpassed my own expectations for the film. I thought, its IMDb rating I think is about 6 out of 10. But actually I think this is a slightly better film than that kind of a score. It was a really quite intense, certainly as suspense was built up more and more throughout the film as we follow Christine Brown, acted by Alison Lohman, and we see the challenges she faces in trying to deal with this curse that she has, being given by this really quite sort of demonic, interesting older woman character that we meet early on in the film, called Mrs. Ganoush. And Mrs. Ganoush is, for me, almost the real sort of core of this horror film. The way that her scenes are the ones that are really, really, I think, the really good scenes in this film. They have the sort of the surprise elements to them. They are done really, really well, acted very, very well by both, both actresses involved. And I think they're really, this is where the film really thrives for me, is those two characters and the scenes, the disturbing scenes quite often that involve them. Otherwise, yeah, good film. And I really liked how it develops throughout. There was one scene towards the end I wasn't as keen on, with the kind of, I think it was like the possessions that were happening, that were going on, was, for me, although the film and horror and comedy are always quite closely linked, it just felt like this was a little too goofy for this film even, and it just felt out of sync with the rest of the film, which I thought was very, very good. And the last scene of the film is also pretty, a very strong point of this film as well, and it leaves you with a sense that this horror film set out what it meant to. For me, 6.5 or whatever it was out of 10 is a much too low score for this film. This for me is at least a 7. Surprised that almost could be considered one of the best horror films I've seen recently, probably, perhaps. I'm going to come on to obviously a few others in a moment. So the next film, or the second film on my list, apologies, that's my phone, should have turned the sound off. The next film on my list is Circle, which came out in 2015. It's a kind of more of a dystopian psychological thriller. Perhaps the horror elements are pretty light, really. You could call it a dystopian horror, maybe, but it's certainly not particularly strong on the horror side in terms of gore or anything like that. It's pretty light touch, really, in that respect. But the basic premise is you've got a bunch of people in a room who can't move anywhere. They're all trapped in a circle in different spots within the circle itself, and every couple of minutes one of them is killed by seeing this device which is timed, but they have an opportunity to vote for who it is that gets killed next by manipulating this device in this weird way where they're pointing and stuff. I mean, the film was kind of the acting probably wasn't the greatest, but I wasn't expecting anything much in that respect either. I did like the idea of it. Certainly one of these kind of niche horror movies, or not really horror films, as I said at the start, but an interesting dystopian kind of film. And I do like these kind of films, actually. And I'll be talking about a couple of others later on. But yeah, I mean, I think Circle is worth a watch once because it's got some really, you're wondering who's going to go next. It works on that basic device of the audience wondering who's going to be killed off next, what their reasons are as well for voting for that person. Some interesting dodgy views come through from some of the characters, and that tends to lead to their demise, let's just say. But I'll leave it there without giving away too many more spoilers. Third on my list of horror flicks I've seen recently was one I saw a week or two ago called His House, which was a kind of a psychological type horror with these two Sudanese refugees who lost their daughter when they were seeking asylum in the UK, and they end up in a kind of suburban London house, which is really, really run down and not the kind of place you'd want to live, to be quite frank. But this couple try to establish a new life for themselves, and we discover the house is obviously got some terrors and demons within it as they settle in. And the horror elements of this film, that the cinematography and the way that those were filmed was really, really strong, I thought. But I actually thought the real strength of this film was in the characters that were playing, or the actors who were playing the refugees, and their characters and the drama. Certainly some of the quite harrowing flashback scenes you get in this film were kind of the really moving, affecting moments. And I thought, in a way, the horror just slightly took away from that a tiny bit. I know that's a controversial opinion on this film. Still thought it was a very good film, just as a drama almost, without even the horror elements, as I say, coming into it. Certainly one I would recommend watching, I think, that one. So a pretty good film. A pretty good film was His House, which came out just last year. The next film on my list is called Dark Light, which came out the year before in 2019. This stars Jessica Madsen, and it's kind of set in this kind of house isolated in the middle of nowhere. This sort of mother's daughter is seemingly preyed upon by this weird creature. It always fairly, I have to say, it's quite a boring film for much of it, but it does get better towards the end, and there's some really good sequences with the monster that almost make me think, yeah, this film was all right. In the end, it gets a very, very harsh rating on IMDb of about 4 out of 10, but I think the film's a bit better than that. I mean, I don't think it's a great film. It's pretty sort of predictable. There's lots of tropes, I would say, in this film as well that have been used before. So I can see why a lot of people wouldn't like it and maybe hate it. But for me, it's not bad. It's executed quite well. I would say, if anything, the film's execution and some of the scenes are pretty good. So I would leave this as a high 5, low 6 out of 10. This film. The final film I wanted to mention came out also in that same year, 2019. It's called Escape Room. Now, Escape Room feels very, very similar. Now, a lot of people say it's like the Saw films, but for me, Escape Room is a bit more like the film Cube, which came out in the 1990s and certainly had a dystopian horror edge feel to it, a bit similar to this. But Cube, I thought, was more effective as a film. It was claustrophobic. The cinematography was really good. The characters were built up really nicely in that film, and Escape Room felt a little too surface level for me. It didn't go too deep. The sets were pretty cool. This might be a good one just to watch once and leave it at that. I'd say Escape Room, perhaps not one to revisit too often. But there may be those who disagree, who think it's a really good film. Certainly it has franchise potential to it. Unfortunately, the Cube sequels weren't too good in my opinion. So it'd be interesting to see where Escape Room goes, I guess. Anyway, those are my 5 horror flicks I've recently watched. Hope you enjoyed. As always, do like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video and want to see other of my recommendations or reviews of films I've watched. Within the horror genres, also we'll cover sci-fi and fantasy stuff as well, because I like those as well. So take care everybody, enjoy what's left of the weekend. See you all later. Bye.